At this time, I'd like to introduce our official party. The Vice Chief of Staff, United States Air Force, General John Corley. Lockheed Martin Aeronautics Company President, Mr. Ralph Heath. And your ceremony host, the Commander, 1st Fighter Wing, Brigadier General Burt Field.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that warm welcome. I'd like to start by thanking each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us on this great occasion. I'd like to extend some personal welcomes to Congressman Scott, Congressman Butterfield, Congresswoman Davis, Dr. Roach, General Jumper, General and Mrs. Corley, General Keyes, General and Mrs. Hawley, General Beggart, Mayor and Mrs. Carney, and Mr. Heath. 1st Fighter Wing would also like to welcome the members of the F-22 team from all around the country that have come here to celebrate their great accomplishment today, along with several members of our local community and our community leaders, Friends of Langley, members of Air Combat Command, and most importantly, the men and women who made this happen here at Langley Air Force Base, the 1st Fighter Wing. Just a few weeks ago on December 15th, many years of research and development, manufacturing efforts, integration planning, testing, and more testing, infrastructure improvements, training, and flying came to fruition. The 1st Fighter Wing and the rest of the F-22 team had provided their assessments to General Keyes, and on that day, General Keyes declared the initial operational capability of the 27th Fighter Squadron. That announcement bears proof that that entire squadron, along with the 27th AMU and the entire Raptor team, had met the requirements for operational mission status. This next generation fighter can now be employed by combatant commanders, the President, for various missions, both at home and in other AORs. This achievement was a long time in coming, and the purpose of today's event is to commemorate the entire gamut of labors that took place to make this transformational aircraft what it is today. We would like to recognize the cooperation of efforts that took place, not only between the Defense Department and our industrial partners, but the multi-level research and development and integration planning team that made this aviation dream possible. This singular weapon system can do more for our nation's defense and our national strategy than any aircraft in history. This aircraft, and more importantly, the people who have brought it to this day, deserve to celebrate and to be celebrated. The Raptor has brought an entirely new tool to the warfighter's arsenal. But the idea of flight did not originate from the vision of weapons or radar, and it certainly didn't begin with the expectations of supercruise, thrust vectoring, or sensor fusion. The idea of lifting ourselves to the skies developed through ingenuity and the creativity of a few brave and curious individuals. This same inspired and inventive spirit drives the aviation initiatives of today, and our first video presentation highlights the creations that the inventive American spirit has brought to our military. In the video we just saw, we watched the progression of aircraft design through several decades of development. That very same originality, imagination, and resourcefulness that brought to life the planes of the last century can be found in the bonds and cooperation between Air Force organizations and our industry associates. The F-22 represents that very next step in the aircraft development chain. But we know it isn't just another aircraft with a different shaped wing or a new engine design. The Raptor is a significant order of magnitude over any other fighter known to man because it brings fifth-generation capabilities of stealth, supercruise, and precision to the warfighters of today. And it guarantees those capabilities for the warfighters of the next 3 or 4 decades. It isn't just another step in the aircraft evolutionary process. It is a revolution in aviation dominance. This evolution to revolution is represented in this next video.
We will see today one design of 2 candidates for the Air Force's next generation air superiority fighter.
I now announce that the ATF team will be composed of the Pratt & Whitney company who designed the F-119 engine, which will be integrated into the F-22, designed by Lockheed, team with Boeing and General Dynamics.
We won!
Today, we are pleased to officially name the F-22 after a special class of fierce and proud winged warriors. Today, we name the F-22 the Raptor.
This is a transformational airplane that you're facing. And truly transformational in that it will do things that no airplane has ever done before.
is a huge day, not just for the 43rd and the 325th, but for the Air Force.
With the arrival of the FA-22, we have the world's greatest aircraft and the world's greatest airmen serving the world's finest community. Together, we're an unbeatable team.
Outstanding.
Today, we are gathered to celebrate and mark a very special moment as the FA-22 program opens a new chapter in its history.
I want you to know for the last 2 years, Langley has been busy preparing for this aircraft. You have much to be proud of. We appreciate it.
All right, at least cheer. We got it.
Camera 3 for 11 away. Camera 3 for 11 away.
I'm happy to be here today to be able to officially announce the initial operational capability of the great airplane that sits behind me. I'm confident that the Raptor is ready for war.
We have a few of those media darlings in the audience today. I think Scorchecker will be giving autographs in the back of the room at the end of the ceremony. Now, we could talk about how I feel about the Raptor for hours and hours because I've had the rare opportunity to fly this aircraft, and it is unbelievable. But fortunately for you all, I'm not the only one up here who has thoughts to share about IOC and the F-22. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our first speaker. Please welcome President of Lockheed Martin's Aeronautics Company, Mr. Ralph Heath.
I could watch that video again. Thank you for the introduction, General Fields. Greetings to all present, especially all our dignitaries. A special thanks to Langley Air Force Base and the surrounding community for hosting us today. Yes, this is it. This is really it. We are here, IOC. This is aviation history in the making, right here, right now. The road has been a very long one, and it hasn't been easy. Many people and organizations are due credit for this huge accomplishment. As I look around, they're heroes. Heroes everywhere I look, associated with the Raptor. Some had the vision to imagine the unimaginable. Some the innovation and creativity to design. Some the skills and ability to transform that design into reality. some the courage to explore the limits of flight, and others the know-how and leadership to bring everything together when it needed to be and make it happen. But they all had this one thing in common: a singleness of purpose, a tenacity to persevere, no matter what obstacles existed, and there were obstacles. Thank you and congratulations on this huge success. Be proud. You know, you have made a huge difference for the warfighters who will fly this aircraft and sustain this aircraft over the next 4 decades. For the men and women of the U.S. and allied armed services whose lives it will save, and for the citizens of our nation and others whose freedom it will protect. Today marks the beginning of a new era. We heard General Fields' words, my words: this jet is very different from anything that has come before it. The capabilities that make the F-22 the world's first 5th-generation fighter will bring changes even greater than anyone has imagined. I believe the introduction of the Raptor will profoundly change the game, like the first jet aircraft, like the first supersonic flight. This is aviation history being made right here, right now. To the United States Air Force, I thank you for giving Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Pratt & Whitney, and the rest of the F-22 industry team the opportunity to serve America through the Raptor program. On behalf of the industry team, I pledge our full commitment and support to do whatever it takes to continue the Raptor's program success forward in partnership with you. We are with you. In closing, I'll leave with a quote from Winston Churchill, and this is from 1933, and I quote, "Not to have an adequate Air Force in the present state of the world is to compromise the foundations of national freedom and independence." Profound words, still relevant today. Today, the Raptor takes its place in history. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Heath. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the Vice Chief Staff of the United States Air Force, General John Corley.
Thank you, and let me add my welcome to that of Bert and the others up here today with Ralph. We've got some outstanding individuals that have joined us for this magnificent celebration. I'd like to pass on my welcome to Congressman Butterfield, also to Congressman Scott, and to Congresswoman Davis. Thank you for being with us. Dr. Roach, General Jumper, you are proud parents sitting in that front row of this aircraft, and much needs to be offered to you for the delivery of this aircraft. Good to see you, both of you. I'd like to say hi to General Beggert, a good friend who has mentored and helped me throughout my career. I also saw General Hawley, who has questioned how it's possible I've arrived at this point in my career. Good to see General Hawley as well. To Claude Bolton, good to see you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, sir. You, of course, have been associated with this aircraft and are very responsible for the delivery of it. Glad that you're with us. Ralph Heath, to Marv Esmond, part of that magnificent industry team that has delivered on this unmatched capability for our nation. We have so many individuals, along with General Keyes, who's allowed me to be a part of this ceremony today. I welcome and add my welcome to each of you. John Corley's association with this airplane goes back to 1986. My wife has questioned whether or not I would have a head of hair if, in fact, it had not been for this airplane. Perhaps If it had not been for this airplane, this nation would not be as well defended as it is today. You know, as we think about the unyielding focus of these leaders in the front row, their attention, their delivery on this magnificent capability, it's really what delivers air dominance. It really is what delivers security for our nation. When I think about Chief Mosley's comments, he always tries to put things in terms of a model, heritage to horizons, and his view is unlimited horizons. If you think about the heritage that's represented behind us, the heritage that lives on inside of this room today, it's a heritage of individuals like Mitchell and Arnold and Aker and Doolittle and Schriever. So perhaps as we look at this unlimited horizon, we also ought to think about the heritage that produced it and what perhaps it's taught us. We think about the fact that we've had armies and navies literally on this globe for centuries, but we've only had an Air Force for just about 100 years. We've really had space and our aspects of space for only about half that period of time. It's been 100 years since the Wright brothers' first flight. It's been 87 years since Billy Mitchell led the first combined air and ground offensive over France. It's been 58 years since the birth of our Air Force, and only 55 years since Lieutenant Brown shot down a MiG-15 in the first all-jet dogfight. Been 49 years since the first satellite. Our heritage is one of innovation, and innovation in a very rapid period of time. It's helped us create the asymmetric advantages that make us the most powerful military in history. The last 100 years of aviation are represented in the F-22. 100 years of foresight of our nation's leaders are shown in the forming and the funding of our Air Force. 100 years of refined technology with our industry partners that have brought us here today. 100 years of maintenance and logistical lessons learned to keep this sophisticated aircraft lethal and survivable and sustainable. 100 years of warfighting skills from our airmen have been honed and applied now in this world's most capable aircraft. When we think about our heritage, it's important, however, to turn back to some of our days of World War II and think about the time. Think about the story and perhaps an untold story of the Memphis Belle. The goal that 8th Air Force issued was for a crew to successfully survive through 25 missions. The goal was 25 missions. The Belle crew made it, but unfortunately many did not. 58,000 young airmen, our nation's sons and daughters, were lost in World War II. 58,000. That's tragic. Now let's fast forward from that heritage and let's look at the application of training and innovation and see where it has brought us today. Operation Iraqi Freedom, your United States Air Force has flown 41,000 sorties with only one aircraft lost to enemy fire. And it's proven that any opposing Air Force would rather bury its aircraft than meet United States Air Force airmen. What a difference between then and now. It's better training, it's better tactics, it's the unbelievable, undeniable, and unbeatable, if you will, quality of today's air crews, and it's the kind of equipment represented by the F-22. It is and will continue to be for decades to come the key weapon in America's arsenal. It will keep us postured against new and emerging threats. It will give this U.S. military air dominance like no other aircraft before it, and like nothing else in the world, now and for our Air Force next. The F-22, and importantly in this audience, for the men and women who fly, maintain, and build the aircraft, they are part of the Air Force's most important contribution to our nation's security. You make sure that we'll never again lose 58,000 airmen in conflict. Today, interesting it is to note that we've been at war for 15 years continuously. The war on terror has been going on for now more than 4 years, 6 months longer than the time between 7 December 1941, when Pearl Harbor was bombed until 2 September 1945, when General MacArthur had the Japanese and accepted their surrender in Tokyo Bay. And this fight is not going to end in our lifetime. In the foreseeable future, there will still be the possibility of extremism. There will still be instability in this world. There will still be genocide and famine. And we will continue to be involved in homeland defense, and the F-22 will guarantee that our Air Force will help to meet those challenges. So in closing, you can be sure your Air Force will keep our country prepared to meet challenges and threats, continue the innovative spirit that is our heritage, and make sure that America and its allies are protected. The F-22. It is the next step on a historic journey. When I see the Raptor, I too see unlimited horizons, and I can't thank each of you enough. The military members and the civilians who have supported us, the industry and government officials that are part of this team, and the local community. You've all played a critical role. Your children and your children's children will reap the benefits of the security that's delivered and represented here in this room today. You deserve a great round of applause, and I thank you.
Thank you, sir. As we continue with our final video, let me just take one quick moment to share a few thoughts. The pamphlets you received when you arrived today include a timeline of events, a list of the highlights along the Raptor's unique IOC path. As you can see, there are people that have dedicated entire decades of their lives to seeing the F-22 reach this day. They invested these years because they truly believe that they can make a difference not only in the aviation community, but in the very fabric of American liberty. From the research and development professionals to the engineers, from the maintainers to the pilots, and many, many more. Each person in the F-22 community has contributed to the strength and integrity of this blanket of freedom that the Raptor is now ready to protect and preserve. There are a limited number of words that can accurately describe the feeling of appreciation and respect that any commander, CEO, or boss will feel when they see a team flourish. Pride, humility, gratitude, they're just a few. It is often said that a picture can say more than 1,000 words, and I cannot agree more. I also think that the faces and the thoughts of the ground-level workers will say exponentially more about the worth of a project or the value of this aircraft than any of its leaders or organizers can. With this in mind, let's look at the final video, Faces of the Raptor.
Well, the first thing I think of is air dominance, because that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be able to outperform any aircraft up in the air.
It's an important program. It's the leading edge of technology as we know it today.
To me, the F-22 means more pilots coming home to their families and less pilots being shot down over enemy territory where they could be potential prisoners of war.
Working on the F-22 means that I get to be a part of history, helping America build the finest fighter that the world has ever seen.
Stealth, speed, advanced avionics, it's got everything you'd ever want in America's newest fighter.
To me, it's a faster and better looking aircraft, I think.
My whole life revolves around it. My family revolves around it, you know. It means everything to me.
We get to make a difference in the way we defend our country by producing the world's most advanced state-of-the-art aircraft. Being able to go home at the end of the day and know that is truly remarkable.
The F-22A Raptor is the best plane in the world, and I am very proud to be a part of this company.
There are two things that I can talk about at length. One is my children, the other is the F-22. It's true.
The security that this aircraft can provide and the multiple capabilities that this aircraft has demonstrated and has the potential to provide is phenomenal.
There's no other jet fighter like it that can compare to.
Growing up, I spent a lot of time building model airplanes, and so it's been real exciting for me to actually work on the F-22.
I wake up every morning and I can't believe that I get paid to go fly the best airplane that's ever been built. So That's an amazing accomplishment right there. I just feel lucky to get to do that.
Has more capabilities than any aircraft in the world. And every time I hear one fly overhead, I just think to myself, it's a sound of freedom.
It's a dominant system. It seems to be in control of the sky and the airspace. Very large aircraft. Just dominates the view whenever you see pictures of it.
For me, it's a realization of a goal. I joined the Air Force to work on the Raptor, so it was a good opportunity. Working on America's premier fighting system, that's awesome.
We're a safer place and a better team because of the work of everybody in bringing this operational and making it reality.
I come from a military family. My father, my grandfathers, uncles, cousins, it's very military tradition. And whether they were in Europe or the Pacific or World War II or Korea, they've always had to worry about looking up at the sky in fear, whether that be Messerschmitts or Zeros or MiGs. What does the F-22 mean to me? It means that my sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, nieces, nephews who grow up and join the military will never have to do that.
If you go to fight, you go to win, and you want the best equipment, whatever it is. And I think the F-22 is part of that.
The F-22 is a big stick that can project power and influence stability worldwide.
Very sophisticated glass cockpit, ease of maintainability, and also interface with the avionics technician. It's an outstanding aircraft, and I'm just very excited to be a part of this program.
Now I'm in an airplane where people can't see me, you know, and if they can't see you, they can't shoot you. So of course it makes you feel more confident. These are the ones that are going to, you know, take us in harm's way, you know, so we're going to make sure that they're ready to go.
Not much left to say after that. The F-22 Raptor not only provides combatant commanders with the right tools for air dominance, it provides a sense of confidence and security for those who understand its capabilities. A word of thanks goes to every member of the Raptor team that made IOC possible. Your efforts have helped guarantee the safety, security, freedom, and liberty that the American people deserve. Now, honey, I told you I'd stick to the script, but I got to go off for just a second. There's two more groups of folks I'd like to thank. First off, the 1st Fighter Wing Team. Not just the 27th Fighter Squadron and the 27th AMU who get a lot of the credit and a lot of the focus and did much of the work, but the rest of the team across the wing that punched the ball through the IOC goal line. Thank you. And finally, things like this, as I found this week, don't just happen. They take a lot of work. And there's been an inordinate amount of effort that's gone into this ceremony to celebrate you who have done so much work to make this happen. But I'd like to thank the folks that did that, from one of the world's greatest fighter pilots standing over there in the corner, to the protocol shop, the PA, the Lockheed folks that made the videos, the folks that set up this venue. Thank you again, it was magnificent.
Once again, thank you for attending, and we hope you enjoyed today's ceremony. Please rise with me as we end today's events with the singing of the Air Force song and the departure of the official party.